Jerry Foster again. Welcome to video number 11 of my Better Branding for Bigger Sales series. Now, one of the things that I have been sharing throughout this entire series is to always remember that your ultimate goal is to what? Stand out, get noticed, and be remembered for offering something unique, so that your marketing can then take over to make sure that you get rewarded for your individuality. I just want to make sure that you really grab onto that. You got to stand out, get noticed, and be remembered for offering something unique so that your marketing can do what you need it to do, which is to get you rewarded for your individuality. Now, in the midst of all of that, there is a very challenging reality that you've got to face. In fact, all of us have to face when we are competing in this crazy, turbulent online marketplace. And that simple reality is that there's a lot of crazy, fierce, intense competition out there. I mean, it's unbelievable in terms of how formidable and how aggressive others in your industry, for example, can be when it comes to this whole thing called, hey, I've got to get clients and on and on and on. Now, as a result of that, there are several things that you undoubtedly are facing. Number one, you got a lot of people out there who are closing out websites. Number two, they are unsubscribing from emails. And number three, they're pretty much doing anything that's designed for them to say that they wish to withdraw from their consent to do pretty much anything with you. Are you with me? Now, there's another viable solution to overcoming that challenge. And you want to know what it is? It's for you to have a strong, amazing, great tagline so that you can activate client engagement in a way that you never probably imagined before. Now, let me give you some context here. So often, I see so many service-based entrepreneurs on their websites, on their social media platforms, most commonly with LinkedIn and Instagram, business cards, old school printed business cards, new school virtual business cards, and on and on and on. What I see so often is that this service-based entrepreneur will only have underneath their brand name what's called a descriptor. Now, when I say your brand name, it could be your name itself, your birth name as a personal brand, or as a company, as a service brand, okay? So I'm going either way here. So underneath is a descriptor. And basically what a descriptor is simply a few words that provides factual information about your services. That's all it is. So for example, John Thompson, certified financial planner. Susie Smith, health and wellness coach. Michael Johnson, IT consultant. Are you with me? And the problem is that if all you have is a descriptor underneath your brand name, the only thing you are telling someone is what you do, as opposed to adding value around what you do. That's a huge distinction. So really grab on to that. Don't just tell people what you do. What you want to do is what? Add value around what you do. Because remember, the whole objective here in terms of big branding yourself is to make sure that people see just how special and appealing and unique you are. Now, in one of my previous videos, specifically video number 5, I talked about how important it is to distinguish yourself online. I talked about how you have to have what's called a single, ownable, big brand idea that will separate you from the rest of the crowd, the herd, the pack, whatever word that you want, because the ultimate goal here is to do what? Achieve what's called lucrative, competitive separation. You remember that? Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. Lucrative, competitive separation from other options that people may be considering. So having a great tagline is a proven way to further separate you from the rest of the crowd. Okay? Now, notice that I said have a great tagline, not just a good tagline, because a great tagline will, write this word down, crystallize. It will crystallize the promise that you make to your clients. And that's really the thing they really must hear and know about from you. Because remember, a brand is the promise of an experience that they're going to receive when they work with you. And that experience, of course, has to be something that is absolutely remarkable. I talked about that already. Now, here's the deal. Your tagline allows you to say something that they deeply care about, they being your target audience. You want your tagline, and this whole thing around crystallizing what makes you special and unique and different and all of that stuff, is to build it around something that they truly care about. More importantly, something that they cannot get anywhere else. Now, I've had the pleasure of creating, oh my goodness, hundreds and hundreds of great taglines over the last 30 plus years of owning my own brand development and training company. And one of the things that I always tell small business owners, especially those like yourself who offer services, any kind of expertise to the world, is that there's a lot that you can learn from the big boys, the big ballers, the shot callers, the big branding companies who have created some classic taglines. I'm talking about classic taglines that belong in the Hall of Fame of taglines, right? I mean, there's so many, from Burger King, who once said, in fact, they may still say this, I don't know, have it your way, to Walmart, who says, save money, live better, and Apple, who once said, think different. I mean, the list goes on, and more than likely, you have some taglines of your own from big companies, big branders that you have fallen in love with, that you cherish and remember because they touch your heart and they touch your soul, right? I mean, we love taglines, we really do. Now, my point is that there's much that you can learn from these types of classic taglines, even though they're for products, okay? There's much that you can learn, and that is, you want to make sure that your tagline for your services does three things. Number one, it's clear. Number two, it's concise. And number three, it's memorable. Your tagline must be clear, concise, and memorable. Because at the end of the day, what you want your tagline to do is to create a connection between you and your target audience. And that connection must be meaningful. You've got to create a meaningful connection between you and your target audience. And the way that you do that, of course, is obviously making sure that your tagline conveys and sells the benefits of your expertise, because what people are buying from you is what's in it for them, which are benefits to them, right? However, on top of that, the main thing that your tagline must do is it must be captivating. Yes, captivating, which means it doesn't necessarily have to be clever. Just make sure your tagline is captivating. And all of this is absolutely critical if you are in a very competitive industry where your ideal client has lots, I mean lots of options to choose from, because they have to choose you over other options because they then see you as the best choice, the smart choice, the only choice. And you've heard me preach that in previous videos. Now, let's go back to what you can learn from the big brands, okay? And I'm going to take a couple of brands that I'm sure you can relate to. Allstate Insurance versus State Farm Insurance. We're talking about the insurance industry, super competitive. We all know that. And for decades, what did Allstate say? Allstate said, "You're in good hands with Allstate." That was their tagline. You're in good hands with Allstate. Because what the brand was offering as a company, I should say, what the brand was asking is, hey, are you in good hands with your present insurance company? Because the point that they wanted to make through their brand is that their brand is about what? Providing safety and security. Are you with me? Now, let's go to State Farm. State Farm says, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. And then they also go on to say, we live where you live. Interesting. Because their point of difference, how they're separating themselves, is by making sure that their brand conveys what? Proximity and familiarity. Two different dynamics here. You follow me? Now, whether or not you prefer one brand over another, or if you prefer another insurance company altogether, that's fine. Because what both of these leading brands have in common that you must grab onto is that they came up with a single statement that you are most likely to remember. So to wrap up this very important topic, just always remember that your buyer, your target audience, your ideal, perfect fit, dream, ready to invest now, ready to buy now client is looking for what from you? The right connection. All of this big branding stuff that we've been talking about is designed for you to make the right connection. And the reality is that when you look at the online competition, which I talked about earlier, your ideal client that you are targeting, the one that you are coveting, their decision is going to be made in what? Nanoseconds. Because one of the things that I've discovered after being in business on my own for all these years is that your ideal client, for example, they're armed with a virtual remote device. It's like the remote control that we have with our televisions, right? And what can we do with our remote controls? We can do what? We can turn the channel at any time. We can turn off the television at any time. And so here you are, and you're trying to reach your ideal, dream, perfect fit client, and that person is out there like this. And they got that remote control in their hand. And basically what they are saying to you is that at any uninteresting, undesirable moment, they can turn the channel. That's the reality. They can turn your message off. They can tune you out. They can just get rid of it. So in order to do what? Induce action, in order to spur engagement, you've got to make it a point to be, write this word down, pertinent. You must be pertinent, which means you've got to do what? You've got to hit the right buttons. And the main button that you must hit is called the responsive button. Are you hearing me? Which means that your tagline, along with everything else that I've been sharing in this entire series, must be designed to pique You must pique their curiosity, pique their interest, their fears, their worries, their concerns, their desires, whatever that deeper emotional response button might be. You gotta push it. You got to be able to push the right button as opposed to simply telling people what you do, the type of business that you have, how brilliant you are, and on and on and on. So I want you to think about a tagline as simply another opportunity to highlight your uniqueness and turn people on. Okay? Because if you remember what I said in video number 1, you got to turn people on. So anyway, this is Jerry Foster. I got to get out of here. But listen, hit the button below, the link below, I should say, if you want to have a brainstorming session and we can talk about a tagline for you. I'll take a look at what you now have. We can kick some ideas around, whatever, right? Just click the button below. And until the next time, Jerry Foster signing off. Take care.